Buckle up, with Duncan, Jeff, and Sloan. Let's fill our cups. Commander decks in hand, the battle's about to start. A podcast for the legends, where magic meets the heart. Commander's Pod, where the stories unfold, with heroes and villains, new and old. Duncan, Jeff, and Sloan guide the way in the world of EDH we play.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Commander's Pod. My name is Duncan. I'm joined by Sloan.
Hello.
And Jeff.
What's up?
We thank you for joining us again today. We got some things to talk about. We're going to talk about legendary commanders and some stuff that came out recently that we think commanders that we think are fun or we want to try or we think you might be interested in or things that may have had a big impact. We're going to have some tales from the table. We're going to talk about extra turn spells a little bit. And we're going to be Jeff's therapist as always. So let's get into Tales from the Table. So I had a situation just the other day. Actually, it was just last night. And talk about a counterspell war. This was crazy. So I was playing Nekusar, and the player across from me had just played a Kendrick Parasite, which does very Nekusar-like things. It was whenever an opponent draws a card, excuse me, as long as you control red permanent, your opponent, that player takes a damage. Previously in this game, I had tried to counter something, or I was about to try and counter something when I was tapped out, because when I started the game, I had in my head that I had Force of Negation. No, I had Fierce Guardianship, and at the time I did not have my commander out.
Dun, dun, dun.
So I hadn't gotten to play it then. Nobody had seen it, so nobody knew I had it, but they knew I'd started to do something, and I was like, oh, I can't do that. But anyway, so a couple things needed to happen. My commander was out, and I had double trigger, so it was going to do 2 damage, but I was only at 7 life. So I was going to die if I tried to wheel.
Right.
And 2 of the players had 19 life. So I have double triggers on Nekusar. They're going to take 2 damage. I'm going to take 1, but I'm going to die. So I got to get rid of the Kendrick Parasite, and I have removal in my hand. It was bounce spell, like basically unsummon. And I had 4 counterspell type effects in my hand. I had the Fierce Guardianship, I had Disallow, I had Narset's Reversal, and what was the last one? I can't remember. Maybe just Counterspell. So I go to remove the Kendrick Parasite, and the player counters it, and then I counter the counter with Disallow. I paid 1 and 2 blue. Also, previous to this, I had played a Dockside, which gave me 16 tokens because that same player that played the Kendrick Parasite had just played a Dockside and had...
Sorry. Dun, dun, dun.
So... and they just chose, they sacked a couple of their tokens, but chose not to. So I had 16 treasure tokens. So I had a lot of mana, and there is a Boromir on the board. So I cannot cast my free counterspell as a free counterspell.
Right.
So I countered the attempt to counter my removal. Somebody else tried to counter that, and I played, for Fierce Guardianship, I paid the mana to counter that one. So now 2 of my counter spells are gone.
Because Dockside gave you a disgusting amount of mana.
Right. So then the other thing I need to do is to wheel. Now, one player had 23 life, so they were not going to die on the wheel. But so I need to wheel. But first I need to play a Teferi's Puzzle Box so that each player on their turn will have to basically wheel again.
Right.
You know, basically you draw a card, put everything to the bottom, draw that many cards. So I go to play the Teferi's Puzzle Box, and everybody can immediately see that alone is going to kill most of the players. So somebody tried to counter it. I played Narset's Reversal. Somebody else played a Deflecting Swat. And then I played my final counter and countered the original spell, so I just won the whole interaction.
Jeez.
So I got the 4 counters. I got them all off in the same turn, and I got to put down the Teferi's Puzzle Box, and then I just cast a wheel and end the game. It was Wheel of Fortune. It was the original wheel, but so
Good
crazy
grief. Those
counters. lore.
expensive cards.
Yeah.
What was
That's a high-powered game, dude.
Yeah,
You hit,
that particular one was a
dockside
proxy,
into. Oh my head. Okay.
Yeah. And here's the thing, the player to my left, now the player to my right played all the big stuff, but didn't win and didn't have a way to win. Played the dockside, played and this is just a rule of thumb, people. If you have a dockside and you're going to get a ton of value out of it, don't play it and pass.
Yeah,
You're just setting yourself up as a
You
target.
should be trying to win, unless it's early game. Early game, you're getting 4 or 5
no, this
extra
is
mana
obviously
to move
end
ahead.
game.
Yeah,
I mean,
end game.
The
yeah.
player to my left actually said, if you hadn't won there, I was going to win on my turn.
Right, then why'd you play the dockside? Yeah.
Right. Well, no, that was the player to my right.
Oh.
The player went right.
And
before
also,
me.
that person at the dockside didn't sack his treasures like he should have.
And that's the other thing too.
That's so dumb.
That's why you don't play it that turn. You know what I mean?
But even if you do, I'm sorry, you got to sacrifice. You cannot let the guy get freaking.
Right.
How many treasures did you
16
get?
got treasures.
Good
I got.
grief! Yeah, you got to take one for the team. Sack the treasures.
Yep. It was very silly, and that's why you don't play the dockside if you're not if you're getting huge value out of it, you're gonna get a bunch of treasures. Don't play it and pass. I know.
Yeah,
you
how
think,
does 2 mana matter? Just play it on the next turn. It's only 2 mana
exactly.
difference.
Yeah,
Card's
exactly.
so broken.
Yep. But people want to do things on their turn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the
Agreed.
problem. Kendrick Parasite was 1 black mana. If that's what you wanted to get out of your turn, then just do it.
Yeah,
Now, this
patience.
player was playing Grenzo, so what they wanted to do was use those treasures, get things from the bottom of their
Right.
library.
The goblin guy, whatever.
And
the black
I
guy.
even told them, they did it once in response to my dockside, and I said, you might as well do it the rest of the time. They said, no, go ahead, I pass. All right.
Oh, so for those of you listening, I rose my eyebrows in derision.
Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah, it was a fun interaction. Definitely the player to my right's fault, but also if the player to right hadn't had 2 interactions, then I probably would have been able to do it anyway. So,
Yeah.
it is what it is, but that was just one of those crazy back and forth counter situations that was a lot of fun. Speaking of counter spells, let's move on to our counter spell segment. How or should extra turn spells be utilized?
Duncan.
They should not ever be used at all unless you're going to win, and I rest my case.
Well, I guess I'll make the next case. I don't mind them. I think they're fine. I have one deck in particular that I have like 5 in, which is my usury coin flip deck because
The only deck I don't mind them in,
Yeah.
because you're probably going to kill yourself. and
right,
it's
yeah,
okay.
because all I do in
No,
that
because
is
you have an unbalanced view of that deck.
No, because his turns are fast too. If your
Yeah.
turns are like 10 seconds or not that fast, but like less than a minute, and you're going to take 5 of them, okay.
yeah,
I am fine
yeah.
with
That deck has one goal: swing, choose number 5, flip that many coins, and then if I get 5, I attempt to dump my whole hand, and if one of them happens to be an extra turn, guess what I'm doing on my extra turn?
I only have it in one. I only have extra turns really in one deck, and it's not a deck. The only way I'm going to play the deck is if you're like, I want to see the deck, because it's 100% a dirtle deck until it just wins.
Is that
Yeah.
Jodsy?
Jodzy,
Yeah,
yeah. Would-
Jodzy.
It really does nothing. Actually, it's not a dirtle deck. It does nothing until it tries to win, and that turn could take 20 minutes.
I
and then I might
wanted-
not win, but I probably will.
I wanted Jodsy to be so good. Like I wanted to just, I'm going to string spells together and it's going to be out. But like you said, it just does nothing until it doesn't do nothing and it wins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when it does something, it's ridiculous.
But
Yeah.
but
Like
regardless,
if you're someone who likes triggers and working through triggers, 100%, or if you need to practice triggers, 100% get that deck, which is why
just
I did
don't
it.
play it against me because I don't want to sit there and watch you play.
To be
solitaire.
fair, though, you did enjoy it once, but that's about how
and
many
what
times
did I
people
say
are
when
going to
that game was on?
Yeah, and when have I played it again?
Yeah, I said, please don't. I love that deck. Please don't play it again.
Yeah, and I haven't. But yeah, if someone wants to see it, I've got it. It's ridiculous, but I have extra turns in that because obviously, if you're taking it, if you get to it and you take an extra turn, most of the time you're just, look, I can do this again, but I'll have all the mana. The game's over. Just let it go, move on.
Yeah. I mean, I ultimately there are obviously ways to do extra turns that are not okay, like just for the sake of dirtling and not doing anything on each of your extra turns. That's
Which
a little
honestly,
aggravating.
most people that play extra turn spells that I have seen are the people that play dirtily decks and just want to extend their dirtling.
Yeah.
Well, and they don't understand. Okay, so I spend 5 mana to take an extra turn. So I spent 5 mana. I drew a card. I got a land drop. I had an extra attack phase. Okay, that's not bad, but it's maybe not the best card you could play for 5 mana in your deck. And
Yeah.
if it is, I would argue
Unless your deck needs one of those things to get it to win. Like that's why my Usury deck does it, because he needs to attack in order to get his trigger. In order for
right,
me
but he's
to,
in red. There's other ways to do extra attacks. I'm not
he's
saying
red-blue.
that it's the worst thing in the world. I'm just saying if you evaluate the card for what it actually does, don't think of it as an extra turn. Evaluate it as what it's actually going to accomplish, and then decide if it's valuable in that fashion, or if there's some other way I can get more value with a different card. Usury, I get it. The other time that's terrible is when you're playing an extra turns deck. In my opinion, that's when it's actually terrible.
And here's the thing. Way back when I started playing Commander, pretty much when I started moving from just playing with you guys to also playing with the group at the shop that was in Port Charlotte at that time,
yeah.
I built an extra turn spell deck. It was Bodami of the Ages, and her thing is she gets extra turns, and I'm like, let's just put a whole ton of them in there, and they'll just turn, win, right? You know, that'll be great.
You're right.
Oh, my word. I think I played it once, and I apologized, and I've never tried to play. I took it apart finally like 6 months ago, but I just sat there because I didn't want the extra turn spells for anything else. I just let it sit there.
yeah.
To me, extra turn spells, you really need to know what your deck does. You really need to analyze how long your turns are taking. If you're playing a dirtily deck, don't play extra turn spells. You're just being a jerk, in my opinion.
Well, and plus there's not, if you're playing a dirtily deck, my assumption is you have lots of synergy, which is why you're dirtling. There are better cards than you getting another turn. Like just play. I know you're not going to like it. Play more dirtle. You don't need an extra turn. Just continue the dirtle. Or maybe, crazy, this is sort of a weird idea, have some cards that win the game.
Well, that's
because if you dirtle, you have a lot of mana.
Expropriate
Yeah.
is a card that I feel like that is not an extra turn spell. That's an I win card.
Well, a lot of people disagree with you. It's got a pretty high salt score. I agree with you. I think it's at that mana cost, it should do gross stuff.
Yeah.
But
7 mana,
most
right?
people hate it. But I think that's just because people are so
I
freaking
hate
sensitive.
it when we say, okay, so you win, and they say no. You just got 4 extra turns, and you're not going, or 3 or 2 or even 1.
Yeah, you probably got 1 extra turn and 3 things.
It depends. A lot of times I see it played, everybody only has one thing. If you take that one thing, they've lost anyway. So they're just going to give you the extra turns and say you win, right?
Yeah.
You know.
But I have seen someone take many extra turns. 3, what was the most? I think 3 or 4 extra turns, and they did not win.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember what game that was. I'm pretty sure you two were in the game.
Yeah.
Probably.
Might have been David.
I think it was David who did it. It was like 4 extra turns and did not win. And I
Yeah.
wasn't mad about
And-
it,
and
but I was just confused.
Don't take extra turns just because you don't want other people to take turns.
He was going for the win.
Yeah.
He just didn't
Right.
get there.
Well, and I
And
think
it's still frustrating though when you take multiple extra turns and you're like, well, I'm trying to win. Try harder. Like, come on. You're making us sit there and watch you either do it, either crap or get off the pot. You know what I mean?
But what's weird about your stance is, hey, we're pretty honest. We're good friends. What I don't understand about your stance is you say that and then you're okay with stacks. So, like, I don't understand
because
the
stacks
consistency
is
there. It
still
makes no sense to
everybody
me.
is playing at the same pace.
They're not playing. You're just sitting there
Well, I mean,
watching
depending on how
everybody
many
not
stacks you
play.
get. Yeah.
How
and that's
is that
fine
work
because
better
it's
than
even. It's
extra
even.
turns?
It's not one person monopolizing everybody's
I would rather
time.
one person take 10 minutes and then on my turn I get to do something.
I would rather
than for
everybody
an
be
hour,
under the same
everybody do
rules.
nothing.
I would rather everybody be under the same time constraints, the same rules, than to have one person who's like, I don't want you guys to play, so I'm going to play by myself.
So we should just rule 0 it if every extra turn you take, if you don't win on that turn, we just get to smack you in the face. So that way there's like a cost
Very violent.
evaluation.
So I'm about to go to SCG Con next weekend in Tampa, and then a little over a month after that, actually it's a month and a half after that, I go to MagicCon Vegas. And I plan on spending 99% of my time in the command zone at both places. And I need to wear a placard that says no dirtles, no extra turns. Because I don't want to see them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say this. I think that
Yeah, I think you're gonna.
if
have
you're going
a
to
rough
do,
time then.
I never
hard
do.
to say.
Most people do not dirtle. Most people do not play extra turns at those things unless they're going to win.
I think there is a solution for you. If extra turns had more of a negative cost to it, would you be okay with it? Meaning, like, for example, like my U3 deck. I think the reason why you're okay with U3 doing it is because there is a negative potential cost for me. I could literally kill myself because I choose 5 and I miss 5 times. I take 10 damage.
Yeah, if there's a drawback to you playing that extra turn,
I think
if you play an extra turn and you're at 3 life and you have mana crypt, okay, let's go. Let's go.
let's take a chance, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you guys forget he can also take his extra turn and freaking get omniscience.
Right.
Right,
Like
well,
I
and I
said,
think- but that's
if
the
you
point.
take your extra turn to win, good on you. If you take your extra turn to dirtle,
To put a land in the
I
pass.
want to reach across the table and slap your face. I want to pull your underwear up over your head. I just want to.
I mean, I think that's the thing. I think with
Some
Duncan,
hot takes here, man.
I think the issue
Good
is with
grief.
Duncan is he doesn't like that people are taking extra turns. They're not doing anything, and there's no drawback to them for doing it. I think that's Duncan's problem. Is like these people are taking extra turns. They're taking a super long time. There's no drawback, and nothing actually happened. Like, I think that's why he gets upset about it. Which is why, even though he says he doesn't like extra turns, he's like, in Sloan's usury deck, it's fine because there's a chance
I disagree.
he could kill himself.
I
And
don't.
it's
I
fast.
don't
And
mind.
I'm quick.
I
I'm
don't
doing
mind the
one
extra.
thing.
I don't mind the extra turns, but I'm not okay with it in usury deck because you're gonna. That's another chance for you to win.
Right.
Yeah.
Duncan just doesn't care if you win.
It's because he could just as easily die.
It's not worth
He's
it
like
to me,
He's
though.
like, hey,
Right.
what if he said to you, hey, I'm going to take 5 coin flips. And if most of them come up heads, I win. If most of them come up tails, I lose. You'd be like, go ahead.
No, I wouldn't
No,
because I can't control the outcome.
You sure you can. You counter the ability. You balance
kill
this
the
thing.
thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
if I can counter the ability, sure, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. So you
I
have
could
that
stifle-
option.
As
If
long
I
as
can
I don't have
stifle it-
75 counters
And
in my
here's
hand,
my
which I
thing.
probably will.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why
when
I don't
some-
want to let him do it.
So when somebody
Wild.
plays extra turn spells against me,
Yeah.
most of the time I'm going to counter it. And then I will say, do you have more of those in your deck? And if they're like, yeah, I'm like, okay, that's where all my counter spells are going from now on. I would
so
I would rather
ridiculous.
lose to anybody else than sit there and watch
That's
you.
so I do not understand how. Look, I don't necessarily disagree with you that counter spells are annoying, but how can you think that and then be okay with stacks? It makes no sense.
Because like I said, on stacks, everybody has taken their turn in turn with the same constraints.
Well, even further, which I
Well,
know
you could play extra turns if you want, and then you're doing the same thing they are.
which I know.
Would you have
I-
fun doing that if
I-
everybody had extra turns? No.
Yeah, if everybody has extra turns,
You would
sure.
not be okay with that.
I would be more okay with it.
Then just
So now
put
we're
extra
each-
turns in your
it-
deck, and then you don't have a problem.
No,
Why
because
do that when you can put counters?
yeah, exactly.
Well, then what's your problem? Just counter it, but don't be vindictive. You'll just lose games for
I will
no
usually
reason.
put up with one extra turn spell before I say anything.
The only thing that annoys me on principle doesn't
Unless I can
annoy me
counter
for
it,
time, but on principle is when you use an extra turn to draw a card and place a land. On principle, that's just stupid. Like 5 mana to do that is not a good deal. There are a lot better cards that do that. Just that's a ridiculous thing to do.
Yeah.
Like
No,
but I don't hate it because I'm annoyed or anything. It's just on principle. It's a bad.
But
it's a bad.
are we
play.
all in agreement that multiple extra turn spells are annoying?
Unless you're winning.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So everybody hear us. That is how most players feel. And respect that and respect the people you're playing against and don't do it.
And
if you're
stacks,
playing
too.
them
Yeah,
to
same-
win,
Same opinion.
no, stacks is fine. That is a strategy
Oh my
that is
gosh.
allowed and it's fine.
So is extra turns.
No, there is not
Your
a
argument
style
literally
of
applies to
play
extra
called
turns.
extra
Hey,
turns.
so is land destruction.
Yes, there
it's in
is.
the game,
It's called-
guys.
yeah, and I'm fine with land destruction.
Yeah, but not extra turns.
No.
Wild. Wild. We
One
still
of
love
these
you though,
things
Duncan.
is not like the other.
Yeah. One of these things is not a play style.
Hey, look, internal inconsistencies happen for everybody.
No, the rest are all play styles. They are legitimate. Land destruction is a play style. Stacks is a play style.
Yeah.
Extra turns is you're a jerk.
No,
Extra turns
can be a play
you just
style
said
just like the other turns.
Oh, so you're a jerk as a
ridiculous.
play style? Okay.
I mean,
listen,
no, you built a. You
I
built
would
an
much
extra
rather
turns
play
deck.
someone with extra turns than someone who's playing land destruction or stacks. And I
What
bet
about both?
if we polled the community, which
Yeah.
so it's like 12 people, I bet people would more
Yeah.
play someone with extra turns than stacks or land destruction.
I guarantee you land instructions at the bottom of that list probably then stacks then extra turns because their argument would be
When
well,
you
at
say
least they're-
bottom, do you mean worse or best? Like,
what
do you
I mean, what I mean is people would want to play with someone land instruction the least amount. Like
Okay,
that is
yes.
like the bottom. And I think the reason why is because their argument would be so your argument is at least everyone's on the same playing field. Their argument is well at least that person who's taking extra turns, they're not preventing me from playing the game. They're just playing it a little bit more than me. would
No, they
probably
are.
be
They're
their-
preventing you from playing the game for a period of time that is only determined by the number of extra turn spells they play.
Yeah, but once I get my turn, I get to do something.
Yeah, if you get your turn and you want to wait 45 minutes to do it,
No,
I mean,
but
you have
but
an auto deck,
I also
so-
don't want to spend an hour doing nothing.
And I feel bad about my Natto deck. It's
Natto?
not bad enough to not play it in tournaments. but
we gotta change the subject. There's
Do what
too
I
much
say, not as I
stupid
do.
going on
Kids.
here. This
Do what I
is
say,
wild.
not as I do.
There's $1,000 on the line at the CEDH tournament
Oh my
at SCG
gosh.
Con, and Nadu
You're-
will make a reappearance.
Well,
Yeah.
we know his price, people. It's $1,000. That's wrong. $1,000? I can do it.
Haven't you
should
seen
never
the shirt? $20 is $20.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
Wild.
exactly, so.
Okay, moving on.
but anyway, so that's how we feel about extra turns. Jeff, what triggers you?
Well, right now that triggers me. That's ridiculous. That is so inconsistent. But anyways, we love Duncan and we all have that. So what's actually triggering me today is all the things that's required to sort of play Magic well or efficiently. So when we went on our trip to Orlando with the family and I brought my cards with me. You take your deck boxes, you put them in the suitcase, and you get up there and you take the decks out, and you're like, all right, we're ready to play. And then you realize you're in this really nice suite, you got this beautiful place, and you put them on the table, and then you go, oh, I don't have any play mats. And then you go and you buy play mats, right? So you're like, yeah, we'll go down to the card shop, we'll get some play mats, which by the way, I have a play mat that I think is really cool. I'm gonna tell everybody about in a second. But then you go and buy the play mats, you get back, you take all this stuff out, and you realize, oh, there's a lot more stuff that you need than play mats. Dice and +1/+1 counters and all the stuff that basically you guys don't know, but we show up to games and I don't like to do a lot of that detail stuff.
Yeah, you guys don't know. You don't play Commander.
So, no, you don't know for our group, but Duncan shows up with all the extras. Duncan brings
Yeah.
all the wild dice, all the coin flips, all the tokens, all the +1/+1 counters, like all the stuff you need to play efficiently. And I'm sitting there going, where's Duncan? Like, why is Duncan not here with all this stuff I need? There is way too much stuff you need to play a game of Magic. Beyond the fact that you have to know a million rules,
I think
you
you
need
missed-
30 accessories
I
to
think
play the
you-
freaking game.
you missed a fine opportunity there.
Yeah.
So number one, I would be willing to bet you. So I know the story that you were staying in the presidential suite, correct?
Yeah. Well, I was going to tell everybody that, but okay.
No, but I'm saying he didn't pay for that, but they made some big mistakes, and so
Yeah.
they upgraded him as a
Yeah.
compensation.
I was just in a
But,
normal suite.
But my point is, I bet you they had placemats there.
Yeah.
Could have played on that.
Yeah.
And you also could have, if you didn't have dice and things, there's paper you can use. You could get out little beads.
But that's just more resources.
But I'm saying you could have shown your sons the ability to, like, you know what, we're going to persevere.
Well,
Instead
he
it's
did, by
we're gonna
driving down to the shop and
we're
buying
going to
it.
throw money at this. and
part of
fix
the reason
problem.
part of the reason why I also went down to the shop is because I thought it'd be really cool. I like the idea of when you were on vacation, you visited some shops.
Oh, I love
So
that.
I thought I'd go visit a shop, which was pretty neat. And matter of fact, while we're on this subject, there was another thing that aggravated me. When you call a shop and you say, "Do you have Magic cards for sale? And do you have singles?" and they say, "Yes, we do." So, do you have a large assortment? Yes, I do. And then I show up and you don't. That's pretty annoying. But the card shop was very nice. Everybody was wonderful.
So wait a minute, how many singles did they have?
Oh my gosh, not very many. They didn't like any of the ones any of the singles, like you go into a shop, you think, if you were to pick out 50 of the most popular singles, they had none of them.
Oh, wow.
None of them. Like they had random stuff that like they had some cases with them, but all the stuff they had in the cases were very specific type of stuff. There wasn't like, cyclonic rift, but there was cyclonic rift for $600 or whatever.
Well,
it's like, I don't need a $600 cyclonic
I don't
rift.
think you have the right expectations. If you were to go to Mystic Forge right now, I don't think you would find the top 20.
I'm saying within the top 50 of cards someone would want to buy in a shop, you have none of them?
But because people bought them. And how often do you get them back? How
Well,
are you going to keep an
get
unlimited
more.
supply? That's not
How
how
is
this
that?
works.
That's not hard.
They don't print
You're
them.
a store.
No, you are a store, but how do
Yeah.
you think they get them? Somebody like you has to sell them to them. They can't go to another shop and buy
No,
it.
they open
They don't have a
boxes.
distributor that sells them singles.
Do they not open? Okay, that's fine. If they say Mystic Forge is a small shop, if they go, yeah, we're a smaller shop, but we have some singles. No, we have a vast array of singles. No, you don't. Don't tell me that you don't have it. But the actual play mats here that were amazing. These things were only $12, guys. So I'm going to tell you what these things are because they worked really nicely. They're called Spectrum play mats. Have you guys ever heard of those?
I've heard of Spectrum. I didn't
They
know
have
they
these really nice stitching around the edges, and they're slightly longer than a normal Magic playmat. But they're called Spectrum. They're $12.
It's pretty good.
Most playmats are like $20+.
I mean, if you're going to buy playmats cheap, just go on Temu or
Yeah, but if you want to
AliExpress or-
support the game shop, they
Yeah.
might have this, and it's
Yeah.
a really good deal.
Oh, that's cool.
So we
no,
bought.
and like deck boxes is my thing.
Yeah.
Deck boxes is a thing that I'm like, I build so many. I don't recycle because I tend to not take as many apart. And it's like, man, deck boxes, I just don't want to spend a lot.
Yeah, another accessory that you need to play this game, and that's sort of my aggravation. There's just so many. It's if the game wasn't expensive enough, you need friggin' it's unbelievable.
Yeah, the accessories, but I love the accessories. I just got my new digital life counter. A guy on Etsy prints circuit boards. They had the magic symbols all over the circuit board.
Yeah.
It's got a digital screen. It's got 3 buttons. It's got up, down, and then a menu because you can also do infect and commander damage.
Yeah.
And it's just the old green on black digital screen that's like 1 by 1.
Yeah.
And they'll put whatever name you want at the top. So I put Podfather that you started calling me, the Podfather, and then it just tracks it there. I love the thing. I love my accessories.
Well, and that's why you
Yeah.
should have a friend like Duncan that has all the accessories
Yeah,
because
I've
he's got the cool. One of my favorite accessories you have is the +1/+1 counters.
Yep.
Where it could just be a dice 1 to 6, but there's something cool about the fact that it says +1 or -1.
Oh, all the time. So I have started almost everybody now at the Mystic Forge that I play with has those because I had those. And now like they will have their dice they were rolling for their mana crypt, like their regular 1d6 or whatever. And they get a +1 counter. No, they can't use that. They have to go back in their bag, get out the +1, +2,
Yeah,
+3 dice. People love those things.
Yeah, the best thing about having a friend like Duncan is you're like, oh man, this would be really cool to have. If you show it to him, he'll probably buy it, and then you can just use it.
Oh,
so it's
also,
like
he
it's
may
like you
just-
have it adjacent.
He may just give it to you. He also does that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But don't give me things anymore because you've given me things and I have no idea where they are.
Yeah.
Just you keep them, and then when I want to use them, you'll have
So
them.
just while we're on the subject, like some of the other things I have that are cool accessories I think people may like that you can find out there. The Command Zone mat, I love that. I don't use it enough.
The
But
one
some-
that tells you the different places to put your cards.
No, the one that goes in the center for a 4-player pod.
Oh, yeah,
It has a place
it's-
for everybody's commander to go in the command zone so
Oh,
everybody
I haven't
can
even
see.
seen that.
Has a place to put your
Yeah.
life counter.
So I
It has
haven't
a
even
place
played
to
with you to
track
see
everyone's
that.
damage.
Wait, when we play with you, it's usually only 3 of us, so I don't. I
Yeah.
haven't been breaking it out a lot anymore because, frankly, I move around tables a lot in this course of a night, and it's like now I got to move that too.
Yeah.
But I do love that thing.
That is nice. I like
Yeah.
it.
I just use Lifelinker,
I mean
the
that's
app
good
on my
too.
phone. It's just easy.
But I also here's the thing: I don't mind touching your phone, but there's some people that you run into in the wild. I don't want to touch your phone.
That is true. You're playing at a yeah.
You know what I
Okay.
mean? Like
I don't want to disparage anyone. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, I get it.
Yeah, and I try not to be rude.
And I
but
don't want some people touching my phone.
I'm like,
to be
that's okay.
fair.
I have my life thing over here. If you want to track mine there, that's fine. But
Okay, I get why you do that now.
Yeah.
I never understood it before because it's just us.
right.
So, but yeah.
But anyway, so no, I get that trigger, but I don't get that trigger because I don't have that trigger. I just have all the accessories all the time.
Well, really, what I'm angry about is the fact that I forgot it.
I think
But
what you're angry about is you're not me.
Well, yeah, often. Yeah, yeah,
If you were me, you would have had it. And
Yeah.
20 of them.
yeah.
Yeah, would have had a plethora of accessories.
All I want to be like Duncan.
Yep. Let's talk about things that don't do what you think they do. We're going to talk about triggered abilities and missed triggers. And this is, so it's kind of talking about etiquette and it's kind of talking about rules. But so triggered abilities and when people miss triggers. So the point I wanted to make here is there are may and there is you just do.
Yep.
So, like, for instance, Ristic study is a may. If
Correct.
somebody missed it when you said, I cast this spell, I don't pay the 1, and they don't draw, that's a mistrigger that you do not have to back the game up for and allow them to do. You
Right.
can to be nice, but you stated it. There were other people that witnessed it. You don't have to.
Right.
If it says, whenever this happens, the player draws a card, that's something that is required, but by the same token, it's beneficial. If a player keeps missing the trigger, it's a discussion you may want to have at the table.
Yeah,
Right.
I think you have to take into account what's going on outside the game.
Right.
You know, if that person's
Not
getting up,
not the TV show that's showing on.
no,
the
no,
TV.
but if like the person's getting up to get your dinner, or to get you a soda,
Man, who does
or
that?
is taking care of their kids in the background, or even someone else's kids in the background, like, yeah, they missed the trigger, or they got 10 other. They're not really focused. That does make a difference.
Yeah. So I mean, the things make a difference, but the main point is the rules part is there. If it's a missed trigger
Yeah.
and it's a may, you don't have to, and you shouldn't necessarily by the rules.
Yeah.
Back up to do it, but you can to be nice.
Right.
If it is a must, then these things should have happened. And one problem I run into is when it's a must, but it's beneficial to them. It's negative for a couple people at the table. Maybe it's also beneficial to you. For instance,
Right.
you have smothering ties. So whenever a player draws a card, you
Create
a
treasure.
treasure unless they pay 2.
Correct.
And they have a required draw trigger, not Ristic study, but one that they're required to draw when something happens and they missed it. I never like to be the one to say, yeah, go ahead, because I'm getting the benefit.
Right.
I'll be like, well, ask the other 2 guys or ask the other
Right.
person.
Because you're gaining an advantage.
So
also,
it does get tough, but people are gonna miss triggers. It's gonna happen. You can't help it, especially if you're playing with Jeff.
Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
kidding. Jeff's actually pretty good on his triggers.
Out of the 3 of us, I probably miss the most because I both struggle with my memory and don't play as often.
And you also
So
tend
you-
to have the most. You love triggered ability.
Yeah, and sometimes I'll have 5 or 6, and Johnny's actually really helpful at that.
Oh yeah, no, we talked
because
about
he'll
that.
be like,
Yeah.
just you got to order this.
The
trigger
role Nazi
differently.
there is like you missed a trigger.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
he'll be like, he'll reach across to your table and be like, you need to do this, this, and this, and I'm like, I'm fighting between get your hands off my side of the table and oh, thank you.
Yeah, I will say that was one thing we talked about with Andrew, where I do like point out people's triggers to make sure they're still hitting them and stuff. I don't know why I'm like remember everyone's stuff. I honestly don't. I might have Down syndrome or something. I don't know. But it's just like one of those things where everyone puts out stuff and I just start memorizing what everyone has and what everyone can do.
Well, to
And-
be fair, you don't play. Your stuff doesn't tend to interact as much as anybody else's. You tend to be the more aggro combo player. So
Yeah,
you're
I
pretty
mean-
straightforward. It's like I'm going to play this threat and come at you.
But even so though, like there's no reason for me to memorize what all of your cards do and what all of Duncan's cards do, and then point out when you guys miss your triggers and tell you to use your triggers.
Well, other than
like
you-
there's no reason for me to do that.
You don't have
but
to
I do.
think. You don't have to
I don't
think.
know why.
The point is, you don't have to think about what's going on your side of the table. So you have time to think about
I
what's
mean,
going
with
on
some
outside of their
decks.
table,
With
which
some
is
decks.
yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I do try to give people the benefit of the doubt, especially if when it comes to like the May ones, like your Ristic studies, like your is it Consecrated Sphinx is a must, right?
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah. Oh, I love
that
Carl.
card is so good.
Yeah, right. So you know,
Still don't own one.
Smothering Tithe. Well, I mean, it's. An
you're a
expensive card.
slacker.
I
Yeah,
know,
it's an expensive card.
But he's bought more expensive cards.
Oh yeah,
That's
it's
true.
not because I haven't.
He
It's
bought
just
a
like
fake Gaia's Cradle for more.
a gold border, not exactly fake.
It's fake.
But yeah, I would.
It's like a
it's
$250 fake
It's
card.
just as legal as the proxies.
Yeah, I will say that when it comes to playing, if you're playing casually and you're playing with new players or they're playing with new cards, I would err on the side of being more gracious and even trying to help out those players, remember their triggers and remember what they're doing.
Well,
if you're going to be
you
competitive,
can't help yourself. You always remind
I really am trying not to tell people how to play, but I feel bad at the same time. I'm like, you could have won if you just remembered your triggers. And so there is a part of me where it's very difficult because it's like I don't want to help them win, but at the same time, like I don't want to win by them not playing their deck right. Like it's this weird conundrum. So I will say though, if you're going to sit down like in a tournament, I very actively like tried to like clench my hands a couple of times I played in a tournament. Like, don't point anything out. It's not like I'm like talking to myself in my head. Like, don't do this.
and
because-
there is a difference.
Yeah, and
that's a
I-
mindset difference.
Right. And
This
I
is-
will say that I did actually, because I didn't point something out to a guy, I beat him in a tournament because he misdid his trigger. He cast something that was going to let him draw his entire library that was at an instant speed. And then he tried to Thassa's Oracle after. I said, sir, you cannot cast her at instant speed. You are going to draw your entire deck first before she hits the field and you are going to lose the game. And he was like, I ordered that wrong, didn't I? I was like, yes, you did. You 100% ordered it wrong. Yeah.
And you
'Cause he did it.
deserve to win that game because that is competitive.
Right.
But we play casual.
Right.
Right.
And that is the difference.
And here's the thing too. If somebody would have won the game because of a trigger and it wasn't a May, they won the game. I will say that.
Yeah.
Triggers are supposed to happen whether or not the player remembers. It's not if a player remembers, this happens. If it says if, then this happens and it's not a May ability, it happens. And I know you wouldn't, but I'm just saying the way you said it.
Right. If it is if he did it the right way but didn't realize he won, obviously I would have pointed that out because he would have won. But he misordered his stuff.
Right.
Causing
in that
him
instance,
to lose because
there was no instance in which
there was no way he was going to win because he did it backwards. He did it the wrong way.
I would also say in casual, if someone's way ahead, they're destroying everybody, and they're missing triggers, there's a part that goes, hey, dude, look, like you're killing the whole table where there's less grace for you. The guy who was low on lands is struggling, last place, misses a trigger. Help him out, okay?
Right.
There's just some truth to that too, and I think you just be honest about that. The other thing is like, it's really cool to help someone where you're like, hey, you missed that trigger, but do it out of a gracious heart, not out of a like, you're so stupid. Like,
Listen, you can't
Duncan
have both.
looked
Pick
right
one.
at Johnny.
Yeah, pick one. You can't have both. Pick one. It's either I'm going to help you or I'm not going to help you.
Yeah, do you want my help or not? Because I'm gonna copy.
So
No.
because sometimes it's just dumb and you're just not thinking. And
Right.
and remember, when people are coming into those games, they come with different attitudes. They tend to be casual. When we're casual, I'm at the game. I'm sometimes not thinking about like, oh, get my triggers. I might be thinking about, hey, I got to ask Duncan about how that trip went with his family.
Yeah.
Or, hey, I got to ask Johnny about how that birthday party went or how his last disc golf game went. And like in my head, that's what I'm thinking about is how do I ask him about these things? Or what should I talk about now that everybody will have fun with? Yeah, so I missed the heuristic study because in my head I was thinking, hey, what's going on with your disc golf game? And that's not so bad because it's casual.
Right. Yeah. So
but the other thing is, don't be the jerk that's like, no, you missed your trigger. Nothing else has happened since then.
yeah.
Yeah, you
if
know what I
it's
mean?
literally within seconds and they're like, oh crap, I forgot that trigger. Can I get it? And you're like, no, it already passed. It was in the it's in ancient history. It's like, oh dude, it was 30 seconds ago, not even. No one's even done anything since he was thinking. Like,
Yeah.
calm down.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay.
However, don't be the player that like 3 turns after. Hey, did you pay for that spell before his turn?
Yeah.
Oh, especially if it changes things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's going to change the whole game, sorry, this is what it is. And they're like, well, it's all wrong. Well, it is all wrong the way it is because
Yeah.
we're not going to go back 3 turns.
You know,
yeah.
be a good human.
Right. I would say it's almost like it's almost like Andrew talked about when he was on the show, where he literally built a commander the wrong way and played it for a week or so the wrong way because he misread one word on the card. And it's kind of like that instance, like where you're in those triggered moments and it's like someone would have won the game and like it's already been 2 turns and you're like, can I read your card again real quick? And you're like, dude, this game's over. Like, what are we doing? You won technically. Like, it's really weird when those things, which has happened a couple of times. I've been in those where you're like, because again, they miss one word and it changes everything. And it's, so there are instances where that will happen. Obviously, please try to remember your triggers. Do what you can. Put tokens on them.
Yeah,
or
so
put
let's
the card
talk
on
about
your
that for a second.
Put the cards on top of your deck or do whatever you can.
Well,
Just try
we
to,
talked about that
yeah,
before.
we talked
did
about
say
it
Oh, we
before.
did.
We
yeah,
talked
in
about it.
previous episodes. So there's different things that you can do. But yeah, I mean, there is a difference between may and must. If it's a must trigger and it's not too far back, in my opinion, you know, then yeah, I think you're fine to do it if it's not going to change too much. If it's a may trigger, try to help everybody out. But like, obviously, if it's been too long, like, sorry, man, you missed it. You know, and there are times, like even myself, like when I play with some of my newer friends, one of the things that I will say, my friends who are newer to Magic, rather, one of the issues is because I'm kind of judging, quote unquote, as we're playing. I'm like trying to focus on their stuff. Sometimes I'll miss one of my own triggers, and I'll just be like, "Oh, I missed trigger. It's fine. It's whatever. I don't care." Like, because to me, it doesn't matter. Like, I know how to play the game. That was my own fault. I know my cards. I know what my deck do. But they're newer, and they're asking me questions and making sure they're doing the interactions correctly. And so there are games where that happens to me. And they're like, no, you can do it. I was like, guys, no, it's fine, really. I don't need to. Like, trust me, I'm okay. That was on me. I'm the experienced player here. And so sometimes I'm even okay with miss my own triggers to help make me remember, hey,
Right.
you missed
Sometimes
this
you got to feel the pain to remember.
Yeah.
I have seen the one thing that we didn't talk about, and I have seen, this is rather extreme, but if you're really having a trouble remembering your triggers, I've seen people keep a notepad next to them and like draw a step and write down what their triggers are. Upkeep, write down what the specific triggers are, the
Right.
name of the card that's going to
Yeah,
trigger.
but the rough thing with that is then it's like you want
another
the game,
accessory.
Yeah.
Just another accessory. You gotta
but also you're gonna have to read that every turn. It's gonna take more time.
Not necessarily. Draw step. They look at draw, what's under it, then
Yeah.
tells them what cards
It's
to
not a
look
bad
at.
idea.
Yeah.
I just stick my cards on top, and what I have to remember to do sometimes is because I know Duncan's been like, "What is that on top? Why is that flipped over?" And I'm like, "Okay, it's just me remembering my trigger."
Yeah. So there's lots of things you can do, but yeah, that is one that technically, according to the rules, if someone misses a May, you don't have to give it to them. There's nothing that says you have to.
Oh, you know what's a good example? Like a Vampiric Tutor, right? Vampiric Tutor is a perfect example.
Yeah.
Your whole time you're planning on waiting till the last person's turn to Vampiric Tutor.
Yeah.
And then it gets to your turn and you untap and you go, "Oh, mother heavens, what is
Yeah.
going on here?"
Yeah.
Well, so here's the problem with that, and that I've run into though. If not everybody can remember how many lands you have untapped before you
Oh, I know.
untap.
I'm not saying go back. What I'm saying is I put that card on top. So before I can draw,
Right.
I have to see that card. But you got to tell people, "Hey, I'm putting a face down card sideways on the top of my deck."
Yeah.
Please understand,
It's
I'm
in
not
my hand.
cheating.
It's in my
Yeah,
hand.
it's in
already.
my
I'm just not
hand,
going to
yeah.
remember to do this. But the sad thing about that is they're like, "Okay, well, I know what you got there. You got 1 mana. You got a card turned sideways on the top of the deck. You're going to Vampiric Tutor."
Yeah.
It's like, but I have to do that because my memory and I have focuses on all the people
Right.
that I'm
The
engaging.
simple
I'm not gonna
dice
remember.
isn't enough to remember
Yeah.
what you wanted to do.
That's
Right.
right.
Yeah, I got you. So, yeah, I mean, triggered abilities can be a problem for people, especially if you got memory like Swiss cheese, like Jeff's.
Yeah.
But, you know, just realize there's a difference between may and must. And you have to have some grace, but by the same token, you as a player have to realize that if you missed a trigger and it was a may, no, you're not entitled to anything.
Right. Yeah.
No, and that's another good point too. Is the entitlement of the person who missed the thing is really important because if they're like, "Oh, I get this," people will tend to be like, "No, you don't."
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna be that way about it, no.
Yeah.
Because actually, it's us being gracious to you. You don't deserve anything.
Right.
So
You
just
missed
be
it, it's on you.
be gracious
Right.
about it when you ask for it.
But so just something that you know, some people may be confused about how to handle that and what the differences in may and must are. But
Right.
let's move on to today's topic, and it's analyzing the impact of new commanders. So the recent commanders that have come out, what's the impact? And so the first one I was going to talk about is Nadu, because Nadu I think has had the greatest impact as far as I think most people are good people and they're not playing him in a casual deck.
Hopefully.
You know,
Especially not the helm of as a commander. I mean, if you sit down to a casual game and you say, "Hey, I'm playing Nadu," I will look at you with great disgust and I will say, "Why?"
you
I
mean
think I would
in your
just say
99.
I
right?
would just say no. I would say you got to pick a different.
Yeah, we're
deck.
not playing
I don't-
CEDH here.
Yeah. And
not
if he's in your 99, even still then, like if he pops out from your 99, I'm like
Because I mean, here's the thing: having been a guy that played him, even if they're like, I don't have any of the 0 equip costs, I don't care.
it's
It's still ridiculous.
Well, here's the challenge with that though. Let's say you bought a box, you got a Nadu. It's worth a lot of money. What are you gonna do?
Not anymore. They're not.
Oh, they're not? Okay, if it's not, who cares? But when it was, it's like some people want to put that in a deck. What am I gonna do with a
Right.
$30 card? Sit it on my shelf?
And again, I as frustrated as I would be, yes, technically it is a card in the game. Yes, technically you're allowed to play that card as your commander. Yes, you're allowed to put it in a 99. Just be upfront about it, please.
Yeah.
Because giving the other people the opportunity maybe to switch their deck to a higher power. Don't be that guy where everyone picks their deck and it's like chair themed, Noah's Ark, all creatures come in pairs themed and like something else ridiculous. You're like, oh, Nadu. It's like, no, what are you doing? Like,
But
stop
if it's in the 99 and you're not tutoring for it, it's
If
okay.
it's in the 99, I think it is far more fair.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
as a
it's less
commander, I
ridiculous
do
for
think
sure.
it is at the top of the list of commanders that cannot be casual.
Yeah.
It was pointed out to me the other day. I started going hardcore against somebody who was playing Urza, High Lord Artificer.
Right.
And it was not built optimally.
Would it have like one artifact in it?
It just, they didn't play any artifacts. Like
Oh.
I pounded on, I literally got them down to like single digit life on turn 3. And then they're like, whoa,
You're
whoa,
so
whoa.
ridiculous.
And they literally didn't have another artifact besides their construct out for
Did they-
like 2 more turns.
Did
It's
they
like-
tell you that it didn't have those things? And you were just like, I don't
They
oh, okay.
took the beating and then said, I'm not, why are you doing this?
You're like the Iron Man with the Hulk, like in that one scene where he has the Hulk Buster suit. And he's like, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep. And he's just like punching the Hulk in the face. Like,
Exactly.
that was you.
Except for it wasn't the Hulk.
Yeah.
It was just some
Just a
poor,
civilian.
some poor 19-year-old kid Duncan
Wearing the
just
Hulk
punching him in the
gloves.
face.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. But yeah, I would say Nadu by far. I think didn't look up stats. I would have to say he by far has had the biggest impact
For sure.
this year.
He's
hands down.
Yep. So he's the one who's standing out. We're going to talk about stuff not necessarily the flashiest, not necessarily the best. We're talking about just some stuff we thought was interesting.
Right.
So the first one I want to talk about for those is Yigra, Eater of All. And this is from Boomborough. It's 3, a black and a green, legendary creature, elemental cat, 6/6. Ward, sacrifice a food. Other creatures are food artifacts in addition to their other types and have pay 2, tap, sacrifice this permanent. You gain 3 life. Whenever a food is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put 2+1/+1 counters on Yigra at Eater of All. I just think that's fun. It's a neat mechanic. It's a neat thing to add to the game. A lot of fun you can have with it.
Yeah, so I'm gonna hit kind of 2 at once, and the reason why is because this is gonna kind of go for they're going for the same theme, which is I think Magic did a good job thus far this year with kind of pushing the idea of creature damage based decks again, right? Because we kind of got away from that for a little while. We had a lot of more combo stuff. We had a lot of stuff that really didn't care about combat damage at all. It was really just going combo-y. So the 2 that I'm kind of lumping together is Ezio, Auditore de Ferenzia, who is the human assassin.
Well done. Well done.
Thank you. 3/2 human assassin, 1 in a black menace. Assassin spells you cast have free running, black, and then whenever he deals combat damage to a player, Ezio that is, you may pay Wooburg, white, blue, black, red, green, if that player has 10 or less life. When you do, that player loses the game. So this is an assassin's themed deck. It's a tribal deck or kindred deck, however you want to say it. And it's encouraging you to attack with assassins and get through and hit people and knock them down low so then you can use his ability to essentially knock someone out of the game instantly. The most infamous combo with him is Ramsey's Assassin's Lord, who is whenever a player loses the game, if they were dealt combat damage by an assassin you control, you win the game. So that's like the number one combo for him.
Right,
And then
makes
the other
sense.
commander that falls in that same theme that I also made this year was Commander Mustard. And he is a soldier tribal commander. He came out in the set, the Clue set, I believe,
Yep,
is
from
what it
Karlov
was.
Manor.
Karlov Manor, thank you. And he is a human soldier, 3 red white. He's a 5/5 vigilance. Other soldiers you control have vigilance, trample, and haste. Pay 2 red and a white.
grief.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Pay 2 red and a white. Until end of turn, soldiers you control gain. Whenever this creature attacks, it deals 1 damage to defending player. So again, with these 2 commanders, I think Magic did a good job of not only making, hey, let's get back to combat damage to win, kind of as we talked about.
Let's speed the games up.
Yeah, let's speed the games up. We're going to have these commanders there to kind of encourage you to attack and do damage and do combat damage. So it's going to force other players to do less combos. Now they need defenders. So I think they did a good job with these 2 commanders kind of pushing that idea. So those are 2 that I thought had a pretty good impact in that sense of the game this year.
Which all 3 of mine are the same thing.
So you can go with yours. I'm going to look up my next one.
So this one here is the infamous Cruel Claw. First of all, this is a Weasel Mercenary, and these from this set, Bloomborough, these cards are so cute, man. This is a very cool looking card, and I don't think it's cutesy, but because it's kind of cool. It's got like fire raining down around it, which is pretty cool. But this is a 1 black red legendary creature Weasel Mercenary, which is amazing. Menace, which I love that. Believe it or not, those small things like Menace, that's very powerful.
Right.
It's a 3/3. Whenever the infamous Cruel Claw deals combat damage to a player, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card. You may cast that card by discarding a card rather than paying its mana cost. I mean, that's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
If I wasn't going to Disney again in September and then Monaco in October, I would build this deck.
First world problems.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Then we're going back to Duncan, or do you? Yeah.
Yeah. So another one I have is Illuge the Shoreless Sea.
Oh yeah, that's a good
Again
one.
from Bloomborough.
Yeah.
Legendary creature, elemental fish, 1 and 3 blue pips. Star for its power and toughness. Illuge's power and toughness are each equal to the number of islands you control. Whenever Illuge enters or attacks, put a flood counter on target land. It's an island in addition to its other types for as long as it has a flood counter on it. And the first instant or sorcery spell you cast each turn costs 1 blue or 1 colorless less for each land you control with a flood counter on it.
Yeah, it's very powerful because a lot of times it'll just reduce the colorless. That reduces the colored too.
Right. Well, it does both.
Yeah.
If you have enough lands. So, like, for instance, let's pretend you had a spell like him that costs 1 and 3 blue pips. You have 4 with flood counters on them.
Yeah.
It's free.
Yeah.
Right.
Just for your first spell.
Which
but
is
still.
amazing.
Yeah, really good.
Great. So one that I picked was because it was something that we have never seen in Magic yet until this point. So I thought was really cool was the Necro Bloom. So he's the one, the white, the black, and the green, and he's a plant creature 2/7. He has landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, create a 0/1 green plant creature token. If you control 7 or more lands with different names, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token instead. And here's the part that was cool. Land cards in your graveyard have dredge too, which we've never seen before on a land. So it was really cool. They brought back an older mechanic, dredge,
That was broken.
and then they put it on the lands instead. So you get to create like this landfall, land matters deck where you're like all those sacrifice lands like Evolving Wilds and Terramorphic Expanse become really good because you keep getting to bring them back. Then you sack it again, you go get another land, it then triggers twice. And so it's this kind of cool idea where you're playing like this landfall recursion land deck
And
build.
and
that
one of the
card-
top 5 most powerful land cards on a commander in your command zone.
You're right.
What's the name of the land that gets the zombies?
Oh,
Field of the Dead.
Field of the Dead. Yeah, because it's Field on the Dead on your commander in the command zone. It's wild.
right. So
And that's from Modern Horizons 3?
yeah, this is the one from Modern Horizons 3. It came out. It was one of those ones that kind of didn't get as much light shined on it because of all the other things they did in Modern Horizons 3. I think it did better as a set started playing out because people realized like they kind of found him.
They were
afterward.
more excited about.
Well, they
some of
had
the
so
other
much
Right.
time between the next set to really find all the cards. In
Yeah,
it.
they had like a week or something.
I don't know. Like,
Yeah,
we
a
don't even
whole
have time to enjoy these cards.
Yeah, a
They're
whole
just like
7 days. What are you guys?
ridiculous.
So, but yeah, I think this was one that was really cool because it brought back an old mechanic. It put it on lands, which we have never seen before, and then it kind of
Doesn't Life from the Loam give? No, it itself has dredge. It doesn't
Right.
give them dredge. Okay.
right. So, but I thought this was a cool one that I think kind of changed a play style and added a new type of recursion deck, which is a landfall recursion deck, which was
Yeah.
pretty cool.
I got Voja, Jaws of the Conclave. Very cool name, by the way. 2 red, green, white, legendary creature wolf. This thing feels a lot like all the other powerful commanders because it's just all text on here. Vigilance, trample, ward 3. Which, by the way, don't be too upset about ward 3. Board wipe still kills it, but ward 3 is very good. Whenever Voja, Jaws of the Conclave attacks, put X/1/1 counters on each creature you control, where X is the number of elves you control. Draw a card for each wolf you control. So essentially this is mana ramp with elves, who will then make all your wolves stronger, who will then draw you cards, while all attacking with the win con stapled on the card.
Right.
This is wild.
Yeah, it's great. They're definitely pushing these cards. I mean,
Yeah.
you only need the card itself to run a deck.
And again, like Johnny said, it's both the cards I just brought up they're encouraging you to attack to get the
what
value.
set was that one from?
That I
Ask me a
think
tough
was
question like that. I don't know. It's got a knife dagger on it.
that was
That was
Karloff.
Karloff. Murders at Karloff.
Yep.
Next one I have, I just think so. Almost exactly the opposite from what he just said. Something if you want to play a little bit more fair, right? Tokens.
No, I've never heard those words come out of your mouth.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying.
So you're not going to build this deck then,
No,
probably.
I might.
He'll find a way to make it unfair.
He won't play it though.
I have a hugs deck, sir. Do you have a hugs deck?
Yeah, how often do you play it? It doesn't really hug.
It does hug.
Yeah,
until
to kill
I do
you?
chaos.
Yeah. Oh no.
Jeez Louise.
But anyway, Balin the Haymaker, a red, a green, and a white. Legendary creature, Rabbit Warrior, again from Bloomburrow. So all 3 of mine were from Bloomburrow. I
at
just
you.
happen to have that.
As much as we crapped on that set, I'm surprised you picked all 3 of your creatures so far from there.
It was push set. I mean,
Yeah. And I like the art.
for standard. It wasn't pushed like MH3, but I mean, it brought the level. See, and standard, this isn't very good. It's only good in Commander.
Right.
I guess is where. But anyway, it's a 4/3 Rabbit Warrior. Tap 2 untapped tokens you control, add 1 mana of any color. Tap 3 untapped tokens you control, draw a card. Tap 4 untapped tokens you control, put 3 +1/+1 counters on Balin, the Haymaker. It gains trample until end of turn. So it's not intended to be creatures, right? People think creatures when they hear tokens. In these colors, red, green, white, they're thinking food. They're thinking clue tokens.
Even treasures.
Treasure tokens.
Throw Dockside in there. I'm gonna make.
Oh, you guys, ridiculous.
Stop it.
What's the red? The junk tokens.
Oh yeah, the junk.
But you do all those type of things. You can pump out a bunch of them. Now you're using those things to tap for mana, to draw you cards, and to pump your commander.
Yeah, I will say that'd be hysterical to do that, and then you go to swing it, and like what was it, 4 you had to tap down?
Yeah.
So I tapped down 24 tokens to bump my commander and pump them. Like,
I mean, just in these
8
colors,
times.
red is fantastic at making the treasures.
Right.
White is fantastic at making
Food.
Well, I was thinking clue, and then green and white are both really good at making.
Well, especially
food.
with all the stuff that came out with Lord of the Rings, like
Yeah.
they focus so hard on clue and food tokens in that
Mostly
set.
food.
But don't,
yeah.
Mostly
but
food.
don't forget too that the nice thing about this is the top 2 is a Dirtle deck, right? But when you get to the bottom one, it has a win con because
Yeah.
you might have 20 tokens out.
Right,
You could
that's
tap
what I'm saying.
Five
put
times
what-
you could do this. You added 15 on here. He said 19.
Yeah.
Yep.
19,
Put what's his
18,
face
you could
on
kill
there?
someone.
Academy Rector.
Yeah.
Our manufacturer.
Yeah, Academy Manufacturer. 1 token generates 3 instead. Oh
Yeah.
man, that'd be dirty.
Yeah.
That'd be a fun deck to play.
And with the stuff like the Nuka
It's almost
machine,
Voltron-y.
yeah. I mean, I just think it's fair. It's not overpowered.
Yeah, I mean, it's
and
pretty
I think it could
straightforward
do
what it
pretty
wants
well.
to do. Yeah, it's straightforward what it wants to do. It's very much like, hey, I'm doing one thing.
Yeah.
And then once I get enough of that one thing.
You could also use the way you could do creatures because,
Yeah.
citizen tokens and soldier tokens and
Elf tokens for
They're
green.
easier to board wipe though. I think I think you were right in your
Yeah.
original thing.
Yeah,
but,
with the food and the
but
clue.
I think also people are going to forget because you're going to be like dirtling around with food and treasure tokens and have all this stuff, and then everybody's going to kind of forget about you, and then all of a sudden you're going to hit them with a 1918.
Yeah, you're just gonna
They're gonna be like,
destroy
"What?"
Their
Yeah.
existence is gonna go away. You're gonna be like, oh,
with
okay.
trample, by the way.
Yeah. So even if you block me, you gotta have a lot of block.
So it is nice that they stapled that on there because they're like, we're not going to let them dirtle all day. We're going to give them a win
Well,
con.
it's not going to be that dirtily. You also have to remember that this is perfect for doubling season. The god that doubles.
Anointed Ascension,
Yeah,
Accession or whatever it's
yep.
called.
Anointed
and then what's his
Procession.
face? Anointed Procession. That's
Yeah,
what
the god that doubles it.
Yep.
The god that triples it. I
Yeah.
mean, you can be.
pumping out.
Yeah, but like you
tokens.
said, you're probably making food
Yeah.
and treasures. And
Yeah. Pay no attention.
Clues.
I
Yeah.
just made 12 food tokens.
They're
Don't worry
like,
about
oh,
me.
he's just got 12 food tokens. You're like, oh, he's just got 20 food tokens, 19 trample damage. You're like, wait, what?
Well, that's the funny thing too, is that because I think the first ability is right. You tap 2 to get a mana.
Yeah.
So you were even producing mana too. So like,
Yeah.
you could be like, still like you can go. You can kind of get
Yep.
going too, really quick. With
Balin's
that.
a good one. You got
Yeah.
another one?
Yeah, so I'm gonna clump these together because they all came out at the same time. All those planeswalkers they came out with, I thought were really cool.
Yeah.
The 5 that they came out with in Modern Horizons 3, right?
Yep.
Right. So the ones that they have an ability, they're a creature and they have the ability and it gets them to flip. I thought they did a really good job with making those playable planeswalkers.
And we
like
talked
kinda
about those in our preview.
We did,
episode.
and I think that even though I have not been able to get my hands on any of them because all of them are very expensive.
Are they really? That's good because I think I
most
have
of
them
them
all.
are. I think the cheapest one I found was $20 for
If
one
you
of them.
had trade stuff, I have some. I've got like 3 of them.
I've got trade stuff. I need you got, Monday. Can we bring trade stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I think they did a really good job with those planeswalkers. They made them playable. They made them to where I feel like their abilities are easy to get them to flip over. Their abilities on the other side are very impactful and they're very quick and they're very good, but they're not to the point of where this is way overpowered. As soon as you see one of these come out, you need to deal with it immediately. It's just good enough to where they're in a good place to where they're good enough to be in your deck, but they're not so good that it's going to draw a huge threat to you as soon as they hit the field. And I do like the design of the abilities as a creature side and then getting them to flip over. I think they did a good job with making it something achievable. That's not super hard to do.
I haven't
but
thought of playing those as a commander necessarily, but maybe you could make it
No,
work.
you totally could.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, you could.
because they all cost like 1. I think the
Yeah,
most
1 or
expensive with 2.
2, yeah.
So I
So
mean,
they're
if,
very
even if
low
it gets
to the
killed
ground.
once,
Yeah, it
pop
could
it
be.
back
Even
out
like
for free.
the one that I really liked was the blue green one, Tamio, I think is her
Yep.
name. Yeah, like again, I think she's two dropping on the turn that you get her out, you could literally get her to flip. Like it's not hard. And
on the
that
blue
was
one,
true
the
with
single
all of them.
blue one too, Jim,
Yeah.
you could flip easily.
Yeah, so I thought they did a good job with those this year. I think those are really cool commanders that you can have that are also planeswalkers and they do a little bit more. And all of them are dual color too. You know, they're all on one side, they're one color, but then when you flip them over, they get to add a color. So I thought that was cool too.
So just real quick, I just thought of a prediction. So they did the gods that when they died, they flipped over into a land. I bet you they come out with planeswalkers that can be your commander that when they die, they'll flip into a land
Ooh, that'd be cool.
to try and make planeswalkers matter again.
Yeah, that'd be
I bet
that'd be
you.
cool. I wouldn't be mad at that.
Yeah.
I think that would be a fair way to also do planeswalkers for sure.
It would be good for planeswalkers to be relevant in commander again.
Oh, it would be so cool.
This is Laughing Jasper Flint, which you know what set he's from because he's wearing a cowboy hat. Because everything in that set had a cowboy hat. 1 black-red, legendary creature, lizard rogue. Creatures you control but don't own are mercenaries in addition to their other types. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top X cards of target opponent's library, where X is the number of outlaws you control, which I'll get to that in a second. Till end of turn, you may cast spells from among those cards, and mana of any type can be spent to cast those spells. Now, I did ask the guys earlier, why is it why does it make everything a mercenary and then it says outlaws? And Johnny, what are outlaws again for everybody?
Outlaws are mercenaries, rogues, pirates, warlocks, and assassins.
So that's why. So they're mercenaries, which means they're also outlaws. But you could have other outlaws in here too.
Right.
And being able to exile the top X cards of a target opponent's library and then cast spells out of that, it's a lot more powerful than you might think. And then also the power of turning everything into a mercenary. But there's so many powerful creatures out there that you're not going to fit together because they're not the same kindred. But now this is making them the same kindred. Right. So you could have some really explosive stuff. Like people make the shapeshifter decks, the changeling decks, you know, where they go. This is doing that without any of that extra work.
Yeah, and I like this guy because I have him. One of the advantages of him is the fact that you then get to take other people's creatures potentially, and you get to add them to your field, and it's a benefit. So that's what's really nice about him is that he turns them into opponents for you because then it adds to how many cards you get to exile the next time. So I do like him. I think he's really cool.
Now
it's a sick ability.
Yeah, the thing you have to be careful with this guy is know what group you're playing in because although I think it's silly, sometimes when you mill people's cards or you take people's cards off the top of their deck, even though they have 100, every time you do that, they feel it's almost like you took cards out of their hand.
Yeah.
So do understand who you're playing with because if they're going to react ridiculous to this, don't play
some of it
because it'll get too much attention.
Some of it isn't ridiculous. There are also people that don't want you touching their cards because their cards are worth a lot of money.
Oh, no, I don't mean that. If that's the case, that's great. You can have them look through the cards. What I mean is like, and I guess there's one reason to do it. If you're a combo player and you're worried about losing your one combo, that'd be a reason. But like, if someone's just milling your cards and you have 100 of them and they're not going to mill you to death, there's nothing that triples or doubles or something. It really doesn't matter. It might even help you going in the graveyard. But some people don't feel that way, and these are going to exile. Yeah. So this might get more attention. If someone says they have expensive cards in their deck, I would say let them do the cards. Don't touch their cards.
Yeah, I mean, I think what Jeff is trying to get at is like sometimes people are like, this is stupid, this is unfair, you're getting rid of all my cards, I don't like this. Which that is what that does. And even furthermore, then I get to cast them. It's really like some people do not like they don't like you playing their deck. They're like, play your own deck.
Right.
So they're going to
not because they have expensive cards, but just because it's like play your own deck.
They may target to kill you and Nekusar's right over there, and you're like,
Send Triplets gets that a lot too.
Exactly,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So
or what's the one
you made one?
Yeah. What's the Beholder?
Yeah.
Oh, Xanathar.
Xanathar, yeah. That was a fun deck. I gotta go back to that.
You should.
The problem is I've left it in my set of like low power decks, which I never play anymore. So, but I have them set. It's in my. I always carry it. It's 5 decks that are like there's no mana crypt, no fast mana
this
type.
Is a normal EDH deck.
Yeah, normal EDH deck.
It's casual.
I do
some
have
might
them.
Say. So,
but anyway. I plan on playing those a little more.
Yeah, I go to the shop. I love it when I go to the shop and I sit down with because they'll play 5 people in a thing, which normally you play like 4. They'll play 5. I've played 6 there at the shop. And you will see like turn 1 mana crypts, lion's eye diamonds, like just the wildest stuff. So many dockside extortionists. I would be surprised if I didn't see dockside extortionists and blue only decks, but they're just these really expensive cards just coming out, and I'm going, okay, yeah, this is happening, and they this nothing to them, and I'm like, wow, okay,
yeah. So,
but so that's just a little taste of some of the commanders that we feel like have come out recently that we think are worth looking into. There's a lot more. There are so many good commanders that come out now every year. We're really lucky in that regard. The rest of the formats are complaining because why are these guys in every set? But
yeah, I mean, we are definitely getting commanders basically vomited out at us every month with how many sets.
Just tell them.
So,
just
by the way, while we're talking about new commanders and things, we probably won't have an actual Duskmorn preview because of our schedules of things coming up. We're going to be recording ahead of time. We're not going to have an episode that comes out until after Duskmorn because right now there's only like 12 cards revealed. But they are bringing back Archenemy for the commander decks. They're each going to come with 10 Archenemy plots.
Really?
So you can do Archenemy. I'm really excited.
We
about that.
played that a little bit, and I really enjoyed it.
Now we can actually make Andrew be archenemy and have a legitimate reason for all ganging up on him.
That's right. There you go. Problem solved.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. Yeah, we might do like a post one just
Yeah.
because we'll be recording right after the set comes out. I think the week after the set comes out, technically, if I'm doing my math right, we're gonna do our next recording.
Yeah, I think it's the Saturday of.
yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, it's I'm excited to see what the cards bring. I've started seeing some of the cards trickle into my feed and seeing some of them pop up here. But I mean, I will say, thus far this year, more good than bad, I think they have done in regards to overall expectations of cards and sets and what they've come out with. And I think they're doing a pretty good job of, weaving in different types of themes for the game of Magic and Commander specifically. Like we said, they're kind of pushing this creatures attacking combat theme. They're doing a good job of that.
So I will bring up one card, just talking about Duskmourn while we're bringing it up.
Yeah.
Just because, like I said, we're not going to have a real preview.
The 6 pip.
Yeah. Oh. Doomsday Excruciator.
Yeah, this one's
6
crazy.
black pips. Creature demon from Duskmourn, flying, a 6/6. When Doomsday Excruciator enters, if it was cast, each player exiles all but the bottom 6 cards of their library face down.
Yeah, this card is stupid.
At the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card.
Yeah. It does affect the player who casts it,
Everything inside of me wants me to put this in Prosper.
but
Every single thing inside of me is like, yeah, do that in Prosper. You're going to get 6 treasures real quick, and that's 6 black mana. And I don't care if I'm down to 6
no,
cards.
you just put this in the command zone. No, it's not a commander. It's not legendary.
It's
No,
not
it's not
legendary.
legendary.
Praise the Lord.
Yeah. So but
This card is so dumb, and I'll tell you why I think it's dumb. It doesn't require any work. I don't like that. But
Hey.
then again, we've talked about all the last 2 episodes we've done about how I like synergy and how I like cards to interact with each other. This requires nothing. You could do nothing the entire game, right?
And do this.
and just do that, and
you'll have more of an impact on that game than anyone else did.
I just think it's just stupid.
Hey, you want to talk about a great Nekusar card? You know how easy it is to win the game when you only got to wheel 6 cards?
Yeah. It's true.
I
wild.
mean,
It's true.
you want a fast game? This guy's the way to get there.
Yeah, I mean, this is a speed up for sure.
This is a, hey, time's a ticking.
This is going to be high on the salt meter, though.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, this is
All right, hey, let's make predictions real quick before we wrap up the show. More salt or less salt than Nadu?
less salt because
Oh,
Nadu's a commander.
No, way more salt.
More salt than
Way
Nadu?
more.
No, I just
You don't see Nadu that much. You guys see Nadu because of the way you play. I would venture to say most casual commanders don't see Nadu.
And
Most casual players
I think
don't see
Jeff
Nadu.
might be right, and the only reason why I'm saying it is because he can't be a commander. People are gonna be like, "Oh, but he's in the 99. Like, what are the chances?"
yeah. I only play black, which has the most tutors of any color.
Yeah, someone plays that. I'm annoyed because
And
you didn't have to do anything.
I already know which commander to do. There's the commander that's 1 in a black pip, and it has boast. Search for a card.
Oh yeah, what's his face? It wasn't the one you were gonna build.
Yeah, I did build
Yo,
it at
or
one time.
Crix, because then you could just play him for free, right?
Yeah, it's paying for 12 mana, 12 life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Play
so good.
Crix, play him.
We need to stop giving people ideas. This is not good.
Yeah.
well,
but anyway,
my idea is don't
I mean,
play this card.
for a standard set. That's hard.
My
that
idea
card
is-
is
Unless you're
very
doing some
strong.
sort of combo and everybody knows your combo and you're in that power level, just don't play this card.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. If
Oh, I'm playing this card.
I mean, it's gonna be
Exactly.
hard for me-
Duncan's playing it. That should tell you all you need to know.
It's gonna be hard for me not to put it in Prosper because it would be hysterical to drop him and then wheel and then like literally everybody loses on their next turn.
Right. But anyway, that was so. While we were talking about this, I wanted to talk about Dustmourne, and while we were talking about that, I did want to bring up. So that one card is one of the few that have been released. And
Yeah,
boy, is that
everyone.
spicy.
Yeah, everyone's
There's
talking
your
about it.
preview for Duskmourn.
There you go. Yeah. So
But do you got any pro tips for us today?
yeah. So just talking about kind of all the creatures we talked about, commanders and stuff like that. At the end of the day, guys, remember this is a game, and we play this to have fun and spend time with our friends and to have a good time of socializing with other people. You don't have to build the most overpowered commander to enjoy this game. Remember, build a commander that you want to play, build someone that you think you'll like, build someone that's fun. Obviously, if you're going to build a salt-inducing commander like Nadu, you know, just let people know. But at the end of the day, like, play this game for fun. Build your commanders for fun. It sometimes is more fun to play a deck that's kind of silly and somehow gets to the end and wins than it is sometimes to just pub stomp everybody and beat them by turn 2, in my opinion. But ultimately, at the end of the day, play a commander you think you're going to have a good time with. Play a commander that you're like, hey, I like this ability. Even if people say that's not a good commander, his ability's not that great, it doesn't matter. You like it. You think it's fun. Play it. Like, just enjoy the game. That's why we play this game. That's why we build these decks. And honestly, that's why we made this podcast, so we can talk about this game that we love and enjoy playing and have fun playing, and being able to spend time together. So just remember, at the end of the day, guys, this is just a game. It's supposed to be fun. If you're going to build a silly deck, you know, if you're going to build a deck that has a funny theme to it or whatever, you know, build it. Have fun with it. Build a commander that you think you're going to have fun with. Build a commander with an ability that you like, even if it's a little weird, or like we kind of talked about, build a commander, but build them differently. Think outside the box. Think, hey, I think this would be a more fun way to play this commander, and do it, you know? So just remember, guys, this is a game. It's meant to be fun. You're meant to have fun while playing it. And most importantly,
Kill Andrew first.
have fun.
We're out.
Have fun with your friends while you're doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good point. I do know one person who says this is not a game. This is not supposed to be fun. This is magic. But
Well, they're doing a good job.
but anyway, good advice. Definitely. I think that's probably the most important advice you've given. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
probably.
know?
It only took 30-something episodes, but we got there.
31, but who's
Are we
counting?
on 31?
Yeah.
Good.
Yep.
Yes.
But we want to thank you for listening. That's all the time we have for today. We want to thank Jack May at Info Pilgrims. Check us out on the web at commanderspod.com. Email us at cast@commanderspod.com. Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/commanderspod. Check out our YouTube videos. We have box openings. You know, shortly after the Duskmorn set comes out, we'll have a Duskmorn one to show you. And most importantly, kill Andrew first.
If you can.
Gather around the table, friends, it's time to shuffle up. With Duncan, Jeff, and Sloan, let's fill our cups. Commander decks in hand, the battle's about to start. A podcast for the legends, where magic meets the heart. Commander's Pod, where the stories unfold.